you a seat. Grab yourself a cup of joe and put up your feet. Let's talk about the latest news and all about true crime. We can make a difference if we put in the time. Good evening, come and find you a seat. Grab yourself a cup of joe and put up your feet. Let's talk about the latest news and all about true crime. We can make a difference if we put in the time. Oh, we can make a difference if we put in the time. Good evening, come and find you a seat. Grab yourself a cup of joe and put up your feet. Let's talk about the latest news and all about true crime. We can make a difference if we put in the time. Good evening,
Good evening, everyone. Welcome in. Thanks for joining us. Hello to chat. Hello to Beach Bum and Leslie and Sinbad. Trace on the case, you're in here too. Deanna May, Squeegee, welcome in. Lynn, Jermaine, Baca, Lorianne Good. We got lots of OGs in here. Stacy, Danny, welcome in. Drunky the Bear, hey, I think I know you from somewhere. Irish Amy, welcome in. Thanks for joining us. Kelly, Dizzy as always. Eliza, that's funny. Yeah, there's something going around somewhere. There is something going around somewhere, and it like manifested some symptoms today. Justine, welcome in. Euphoria. I get it. And Deanna. So yeah, today is a big day. Lots of people have already heard about the big news out of court in Maricopa County Superior Court in the case of the state of Arizona versus Lori Daybell. And I was there for it, and I got the video from the court for it, which I'm glad I did because it happened so fast. There's no way that I could remember everything that went down in 45 minutes. It was only like the entire exchange was like 45 minutes long. And I asked the public information officer for it, Vincent, you're my man. I love you for getting that to me like almost immediately when I requested it. Obviously, I requested it later than a couple of other outlets that already posted it. And I'm like, hey, why didn't I get it? I thought I was on the media list. And he's like, oh, well, you have to individually request things like this. So I did, and he sent it right back. So we're going to watch that in a little bit. We're going to watch the actual video of what went down today. We're going to get to see 13 minutes of it. And like I said, the whole exchange was like 45 minutes. So they limited what they gave the media. There's an 8-minute video and a 5-minute video totaling 13 minutes. And I like the fact that I got it directly from the court because I can control the volume and more or less control the resolution of it. You know, I had Justin Lums pulled up to play before I got that from Vincent. And the video quality was just horrible. They're doing something where they're rearranging the 4 panels, and I'm not going to do that. But before that happened, they dropped the judge's dismissals of Lori's motions from back in May. Like the latest motions that she posted for, that had to do with the Jeep Wrangler, that had to do with the cell phone data and location data from Alex's phone, that had to do with her not getting, or the Gilbert Police Department not preserving Brandon's car door and window. That was a motion to dismiss, like the entire case, like because the police department didn't preserve those. She filed a motion to dismiss the entire case. So we've all been waiting on the judge's orders and rulings to come down on those. We got those this morning. I posted them on X, but we'll review them after we take a look at the video, because the video, what happened today in court, was just insane chaos. And in a court proceeding, there are multiple parties that are involved, obviously to different levels. You have the defendant, who is, and her lawyer, which is herself this time. You have the state, you have the judge, you have the courtroom staff, you have the public, you have the media, you have court security, and everybody was affected a little bit today, and by what happened in court to some level. And obviously you also have the victims, and you have the victim in court today sitting in the front row directly behind her. So yeah, Brandon was in court today with a couple of support people with him, including his wife. But before we get to that, me, I'm a sports fan. Oh wait, let me check chat. I'm going to check chat a little bit. Jermaine, Unicorn Rancher, hello. Micah, welcome in. Scrolling down chat. I wish it would scroll by itself, but then I'd have to scroll up to see everybody that I missed. Lily Wayne, Kelly Collins, everybody, welcome in. Thank you. This is going to be an interesting discussion, and it could last a while, because once we get past the video itself. So when we get to the video, I'm just going to play the video like I kind of did with that Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department response to the public defender from Allen County. I just played it first in its entirety, let you form your own opinions, but then maybe I'll go back and I'll interject some comments. Of course, all of you in chat are welcome to interject your comments as you watch it. Like, you don't have to reserve your opinion. And we've already heard that there are a lot of opinions and a lot of thoughts on it. Plus, get this, Squeegee, if you're listening, I found my juror 15 already. Like, before jury selection has begun, I found my juror 15. I found Carl already, or this version of Carl, and I hope he doesn't make it to the jury, but I have my eye on him, and I will tell you all a story about that. So don't let me forget to tell you the story about my juror number 15. Already, and he's probably about the same age as Carl was, and looks like kind of the same, not physically the same, like not in features, not facial features or anything like that, but just kind of, and he's maybe not as nonchalant as Carl was, but he did like do something that raised my eyebrows just a little bit. Yeah, right, Unicorn, no more Carls. I mean, he's on a panel of 50 some jurors, or he's in a pool of 50 some jurors, 55-ish. So there's a good chance he won't be selected. And he's in the middle of the numbers. And I don't know if they just like put the first 18 in the jury box to start with and say everybody after that, if we seat a jury off of these 18, then everybody else can go. If that's the case, then he won't, I don't think he'll be, you know what? I don't know. I don't know if he'll be on the jury or not. I hope he's not, just based on this one interaction that I had today. No, Micah, you don't have to hold back on your opinion. All opinions are welcome in here in my channel. Carolina, good to see you in here. Oh, good to see you in here, my friend. We have a lot to talk about. But before we talk about that, you know I'm a sports fan, so I'm going to hit the sports news just really quickly, and then a couple of other good news things before we dive into that video. You know I'm from Indiana, and I was a Indiana Pacers fan back in the Reggie Miller days. Reggie Miller versus the Bulls, and especially Reggie Miller versus the Knicks. And Reggie Miller helped, along with, I think it was Jermaine O'Neal in 2000, to lead them, and Larry Bird was the coach of the Pacers in that year, to lead them to the NBA Finals. Their only time they've ever been to the NBA Finals in the year 2000. So where are we now? We're in 2025. So 25 years ago. And guess what's going on this year?
25 years in the making here at Gainbridge Fieldhouse on Saturday night as the Pacers punched their ticket to the NBA Finals for the first time since 2000.
That's a special feeling to do it with this group. You know, we got to the same spot last year, fell short. And, man, we just worked our tails off as a group to get back here with so many different guys chip in. We've been through so many things this year, and we just kept pushing.
The celebration was extra special for Miles Turner, who has spent 10 years wearing blue and gold.
Man, a lot of pain, a lot of joy, just through and through, man. Just all the love and the hate just makes us very, very validating. The moment itself is very validating. We know we're not done. We're gonna enjoy it tonight, of course, but you know, we're going to this series confident, man. Just we're continuing to build.
Pascal Siakam was honored after a 31-point performance in Game 6 as the MVP of the Eastern Conference Finals.
It's cool. It's been a crazy journey, a lot of ups and downs. I'm not the guy that everyone's going to talk about a lot and all that stuff. And I really don't care about it. You know, I'm just a young kid from Cameroon that's, moved to the U.S.
Did you hear that? He's from Cameroon. How many NBA players are from Cameroon? He's the only one. So what an accomplishment to win the Eastern Conference Finals MVP and help lead his team. Tyrese Halliburton obviously contributed greatly to that too. And I think Tyrese thought that he was going to get the MVP. I won't play that video though. But what an amazing story and gratifying for Pacers fans like myself. I actually haven't followed them for a while because there were some odd years in there when they had a player that was a prima donna, and I wasn't a fan of that. But here we go.
I was 18 years old and gave everything to the game of basketball. And I just work every single day. The work continues.
4 wins over the Oklahoma City Thunder stand between the Pacers and their first ever NBA championship. Reporting in Gainbridge Fieldhouse, I'm Alexa Ross.
So yeah, that's Capri Law. Yeah, I talk a little bit of sports to start off the stream, just to give a little bit of human interest aspect to it. Is sports human interest? Yeah, probably, because humans have an interest in it, and I do too, and I'm a human. But it's short and it's sweet. I don't have to bore you too much with my sports takes. I'm proud of the Pacers this year for getting there, and they really do have a lot of hardworking, and it looks to me like humble players. That's my opinion of them this year. They're a little more humble than they have been in a few years ago when they had other players. Yeah, dry years, right? There are other fans of other teams that have experienced dry years. Yep. The Purdue Boilermakers went 40 years. So I went to the Final Four. They were in 2 springs ago, or one spring and a few months ago, in Phoenix, and that was the first one they've been in since 1980. So yeah, Purdue fans, Pacers fans, we know about dry years. All right. So let me stop that screen. And a couple of other things that are good news. My second granddaughter was born last night. So my son has one other daughter before her. So he has the 2 granddaughters in the family. My other son that lives in another state has my grandson, and he was my first grandchild, but now 2 granddaughters in a row. So Camilla is her name. It's an unusual name. Her older sister's name is Sophia. So Sophia and Camilla are my beautiful, precious granddaughters. I'm not going to show a picture of her. The picture is adorable. I showed it to some of my other people that I know, my friends that I, in court today. And of course I showed Trace on the case. But I'm not going to put it on here. I'm going to protect his privacy. But she's precious. She's beautiful. And I'm so happy. I'm not happy that I'm not closer to her. So I'm going to have to take a trip, and I'm going to have to go see my new granddaughter. And one other happy bit of good news. Here we go. Take a look at this, folks. Boom. 2,000 subscribers. We hit that overnight. And I'm so grateful to all of you who have subbed up to the channel. And if you haven't, why not? And for all of the people that have supported me in this, thank you, Dizzy. Thank you, Squeegee. Thank you, Trial TV Live. And Salty is my OG. She has been with me since the beginning that I did my very first live. She was co-host on my very first live. So I thank you very much to all the people that have supported me and helped me and guided me to get where we are. And we got nowhere to go but up. We got more things on the horizon. Thank you, everybody, for the congratulations too. Thank you, everybody. I have literally seen nothing from support since I joined the community, and lots of people have been supportive and nothing but supportive. So thank you all for that. Deanna, nice. Very nice. Yeah, grands are the best. Okay. So should we just get into it? I think we should just get into it. I think I maybe had a video in between the Pacers video and the actual court video, but I'm just going to skip that unless it's what I think it is. And then it's only like 2 minutes long and we might watch it anyway, because I was looking for a video of Reggie Miller when he played against the Knicks, and he scored 8 points in 8.9 seconds to beat them in the playoffs. And it's one of the craziest playoff endings in NBA history, but we'll probably just get into the video because I'm way more gigged out on that type of a video than I am than anybody else in chat is. Thanks everybody for the congratulations. I appreciate that very much. You're all so kind and generous, and this chat is amazing. Like, I think there literally has been one time in my 9 months of streaming that I've had to worry about somebody in chat. Spike Lee who? Micah, right? Do you remember Reggie Miller did that? When Reggie Miller did that in front of Spike Lee, that was freaking awesome. Micah knows where I'm coming from. All right, let's see what's up next in my playlist. Let's keep going. Oh, there it is. All right.
Game that's seen nearly 60 fouls called. Actually, that is short of the record for both teams in the playoff game. Miller for 3, and he got it.
So now we have our worst inbounder, Anthony Mason, take it out.
Greg Anthony was wide open. I threw it to him. He slipped. And I kind of see his foot stumble just a little bit as he's taking the ball out. Reggie absolutely shoved Greg Anthony. It was the best chest pass from either team.
Oh, he threw it away. Reggie for 3.
Boom, baby. All right. Boom, baby was a classic phrase of the Pacers announcer, Slick Leonard. Bobby Slick Leonard, who actually was the coach of the Pacers when they won an ABA championship before they joined the NBA. So that was like back in the mid-70s. but he coined the phrase "boom baby," and it was huge with Pacers fans. And he just said "boom baby." That takes me back to the 90s.
In the heat of the moment, Sam Mitchell fouls John Starks.
I was kind of like in shock that this whole thing happened. At that time, I'm walking to the free throw line. And I'm thinking, like, man, did this dude just did this?
We watched John's eyes, and he wanted no parts of those foul shots. There's no way he's going to miss the second free throw. There's absolutely no way. Starks misses the foul shot. Ewing misses the putback.
There is a time to play and there's a time to win. What do?
You hear that? There's a time to play and there's a time to win. Champions know. And he never won an NBA championship, but Miller was a winner. Reggie Miller was a winner. And he also was a flopper when he came off screens. As a Pacers fan, I'll openly admit that. But I like when they have, inspiring things to say.
Do in winning time. That differentiates between just a regular player and a superstar.
Reggie Miller scoring.
All right. We can move on to the actual video, and I may have to adjust the volume or the size. All right, I got to check chat too. Let me stop screen for just a second. That was an epic series. Micah, the Pacers and the Knicks went at it every year. But that series was one of the best, of that entire, like in the 90s. Pacers and the Knicks were always second to the Bulls, though. That was so frustrating. And then Jordan retired, and then the Pacers got to their last NBA Finals in 2000, and now they're in their second NBA Finals. So go Pacers. And now bear with me as I get the audio and the video adjusted in this. This is the direct FTR from... Are we going forward? Hold on. The direct FTR from the court, and it's not 4K. See how blurry it is? So Lori is down in this one. I can't zoom in on it. I can't do anything with it. But Lori is down in the lower right corner. Not the bottom right, but like the fourth from the top. Judge is in the top. Some stupid screen is the second from the top. And then Trina K and her team. She had some police officer there that I'm not sure who that was. Seated with her, but that's her paralegal there. And Lori... Oh gosh, Trace, do you remember who was seated with Lori? I think that looks like her co-counsel. That looks like Pam Hicks and Mr. Abernathy. They're seated with her. So if she's contagious, like if she's got COVID, she doesn't have a mask on. She just has a puke bucket next to her. And they don't have a problem sitting next to her. So it's not COVID. Whatever it is that she has, well, the judge will ask her if she's okay. The judge, I'm just going to play it. I can't fix the audio. I can fix the audio. I can make it louder or quieter, but I can't fix the video. I published this in 4K, and this is the best we can get. Oh, did I? Hold on. Did I not present this? I didn't hit present. Apparently. We got to go back to the beginning. Present. Share screen. Here's the video. I watched like a whole minute of that without you guys, all by myself. Can you believe that? Oh, good grief. All right. So I'm going to just show this so you guys can see it better. Where is the option to do that? Here we go. I think that's as good as it gets. Thanks, Shelley. Thank you. Yeah, we should rename my show. That's that's perfect. Here we go. I'm not going to comment on this at all the first time through. It's 13 minutes long. It's broken up between an 8-minute video and a 5-minute video, and you can figure out where the break is. Here we go.
All right, this is the time set for continuing jury selection, State of Arizona versus Lori Daybell, CR 2022-001242. Appearances, please.
Trina Kay on behalf of the state and for the record, the victim is in the victim room.
All right. Ms. Daybell.
No, in the courtroom, sorry.
Lori Daybell for the defense.
All right, are we ready to proceed with jury selection?
No,
Why not?
I'm sick, Your Honor. I've been sick all weekend. I let my team know yesterday I was sick.
Can you please pull the microphone a little closer? I can't hear you very well.
I'm sick. I've been sick.
Have you put in tank orders to get treatment?
Yes.
Are you being housed in the infirmary?
Nope. I'm housed where they put people in quarantine anyway. I'm housed alone. They would not move me from where I am.
Have they tested you for any communicable diseases?
No.
All right.
You asked me to let my team know. I let them know yesterday at 9 a.m. that I was still
Well,
very ill.
Sometimes we're in positions where we have to proceed when we feel under the weather.
It's not just under the weather. I'm very ill.
Do you have copies of tank orders you put in for treatment?
Not with me. I put it in on the tablet.
Is the DO able to check whether any tank orders were put in?
I can pull down their judge, but I don't know when she put it in.
What's that?
I think it takes about 24 hours.
They haven't even answered my tank order yet. It takes them a long time.
So what symptoms are you having?
I have a terrible headache. I have nausea. I have chills. I have a fever probably. I haven't been able to keep very much down besides broth and oranges.
Would you be willing to have one of your advisory councils complete the four-year process jury selection?
Would that waive my ability to represent myself for the rest of the trial?
No.
Then can I have a moment to discuss with them for a second?
A couple things. I'm your trial judge. My instructions are to complete your second trial. So even if for some reason your sickness worsened and we weren't able to complete this trial and had to declare a mistrial as this trial, even if this case got delayed into June or July or August to be reset, I'd still be your trial judge. Additionally, last time we did jury selection on your first trial, as I recall, you asked between probably about 5 and 10 minutes of follow-up questions of the panel before we sat the jury. I only mention that in the context of not a lot of it is expected of you at this point in the trial. Depending on how you're feeling later, we could talk about whether the opening statements would have to be further bumped to tomorrow. But I would like to keep this trial on track. So if you want a few minutes to talk to your advisory council, we can do that. Is there anything the state wants to put on the record before we do that?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
All right. Do you want to do that back in the tank? All right, we'll be at recess for a few minutes.
All right.
Please be.
All right, so that's the first 5-minute video. Now we have an 8-minute video of what happens later. That's my only comment on this. And I'm trying to star comments that people have that are relevant and save them for the second time through, or while we're talking about it between the first and the second time, because there are some really good comments coming in. Trace on the case, yours cracked me up. But I'm trying to let you guys also see the captions, and please be forgiving of the captions because I just did AI captions really quick after I got the FTR from the PIO. So they're not anywhere close to perfect, but I'm not spending an hour on this hearing just for Lori. Y'all are going to have to read between the lines if they're messed up.
Please be seated. All right, we're back on the record. State of Arizona versus Daybell, CR 2022-001242. The state is present. The defendant is present. Ms. Daybell.
I did discuss with my advisory council. They are not comfortable doing that. I do have a right to represent myself. I'm sorry that I'm sick. I did not plan on getting sick. I did not try to get sick. This isn't anything to do with anything other than the fact that I'm incapable of going forward and doing a good job representing myself. I've been incarcerated for over 5.5 years. I've only ever been sick one other time in the whole time I've been here.
All right. State want to be heard.
Judge, obviously, if the defendant is sick and she does have a right to represent herself, we understand that. The concern is the state does need a date certain when we're starting. I have witnesses that I rescheduled already once to fly in this week, assuming we were starting today. I obviously will need to reschedule them again. I can't keep rescheduling them every single day onto a new flight. So I am not sure how we want to proceed at this time. If we want to give the defendant a couple days, see if this jury is available to extend out to the 25th. I know we had originally talked about that, and begin on Wednesday. I don't know if she'll feel better by then, but that's the only suggestion I have at this time, other than starting all over again at another date.
Is there a reason I couldn't proceed with some of the oral voir dire this morning? Because other than introducing herself, she wouldn't be expected to do anything this morning. And that way we can at least get rid of some of the jurors that, for whatever reason, would need to be excused.
Judge, my concern is she's in a wheelchair now.
Well, I would probably ask to have her sit in a regular seat and not be in a wheelchair that says MCSO across the back of it.
Your Honor, I am just not capable of going or even sitting here. I need to be laying down. I need to be getting better so that I can go forward and actually represent myself. I hope that I feel better this week and we can go forward. I can't give you any promises. I can't control any of this.
All right, I'll take the state's suggestion and try to salvage this jury in this trial. I'm sure these jurors are going to be none too happy coming down today again for a dry run.
Judge, I do have one other. I don't know if we're able to, and I understand this is Judge Kemp's courtroom. We can start earlier for the rest of the week and next week at 10. Maybe take an hour for lunch. It's just ways to try to.
Yeah, I would be willing to do that. So for Friday, I have nothing else, and Judge Kemp has nothing. We could start at 9 on Friday.
And I know we have at least one juror that we will have to excuse who was going camping on Friday.
Juror number 4, I think.
Yeah.
My schedule, we could start at 10 on Wednesday. Let me check Judge Kemp's courtroom schedule. I think he looks like he'll be done by 9:30 at the latest. So I think we'd be safe on telling the jurors to come back 10 a.m. Wednesday, get the jury picked, opening statements done. All right, I think I do need to bring the jurors in to tell them something. So can we have Ms. Daybell sit in a regular chair and not and bring the wheelchair out into the hallway?
Yeah. I don't think that I can even sit here. I need to go lay down. I don't understand. I don't think last time you said it was going to be 15 minutes. It was an hour and a half where I was sitting here trying not to throw up on TV in front of the jurors.
Which maybe we could, all of us leave and they could come in and just speak with you.
That's fine.
I've had that happen before where none of the parties are here and the court just advises that we're unable to.
Okay.
Your Honor, I don't know about you rescheduling this for Wednesday. It puts a lot of pressure on me to be better and ready for Wednesday. And if I'm not, I don't like to disappoint people. I don't like putting people out of their way, all the jurors and all these things, and all the pressure is on me. That's not going to help me get any better anytime soon.
What is your suggestion?
I don't know, but I'm saying if I were, so tomorrow, if I'm not better and I let my team know, are you going to drag me in here like you did today with the team that came to get me? Do you know they felt so sorry for me to have to get dragged out of bed to be here?
Yeah, the answer is yes. I probably will order that you be here Wednesday. We'll take tomorrow off. Because I need to confirm how you're feeling. You because you represent yourself, no one else can waive your own appearance.
You're welcome to come over to the jail and come to my cell and see how I'm doing in there.
All right, I'll take a pass on that. All right, with the consent of the parties, then we'll have the parties exit. I'm going to tell the jury we're going to try to get this done on Wednesday. Obviously, that depends on whether the defendant's feeling better or not. We will, I'll tell them to be here ready to go at 10 a.m. Wednesday unless they hear something else. So I'll go ahead and ask the parties to exit. We'll keep the FTR running for the record.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I had to mute myself for that. I had to mute myself for that. Because I have so many thoughts, and you all do too. Like I have 17 starred messages. Let's go through them now after the first one before we get into the second one. And I'm going to give you my thoughts too. Okay, so this is how I dressed today, right? Got my nice Purdue tie on, representing the Boilermakers, show up to court early with Trace. And I'm going to have to take this tie off now. I'm going to have to unbutton a button. This is some stuff, especially like the last 5 minutes of that is so crazy to me. And I have so many comments, and you guys do too. And you guys have some really good comments that like make me think even more about what I'm thinking about. So I'm not going to show that one yet. That's a good point. Judge Bresky should have checked to see if Lori really did need the wheelchair. That's a hard thing to do for a judge. That's a hard thing to do for sheriff's office, Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. I mean, they have doctors, they have medical staffs, they have tests. He asked her about those. They have something that's called a trunk record. I'm interested about that. I haven't heard about that before. We'll probably learn more about that. Trace texted me this earlier, and she needs to check her portal potty for puke and crap. Her portal potty. That's the funny part of that. No sweater for chills, no shaking, no kneeling over, not looking pale. I don't know if you can say that based on this video and even based on our in-court observations, because she came in with her head like this down. She had on like a black shawl over her clothes. So honestly, I don't even think she changed out of her jail clothes into street clothes. I think she just put something like a blanket. I call it a shawl, but it was probably a blanket. They don't have shawls in jail. Shawl. That's an old-fashioned word. People don't wear shawls anymore, do they? Probably was like a black blanket over her clothes to hide her jail clothes, because she wasn't strong enough to dress into her street clothes like she was Friday morning. And we'll get to Friday morning street clothes in a minute. Malingering. 99% of the population believes that's what's going on here. I'm not going to declaratively declare that, because she could be sick. But here's my first thought interjection of the day. She reminds me so much in this video of when my youngest didn't want to go to school. And he would be sick 3 days, 4 days, 5 days out of 5 of the school year. And it was a constant battle to say, you're not really sick, and him coming up with symptoms and making stuff up so he didn't have to go to school. Now, it turns out later we learned out some other reasons why he didn't want to go to school. So I can understand him a little bit more now than I did at the time, but it was so frustrating as that parent trying to get that kid to go to school when he didn't want to go to school. She doesn't want to go to court. She doesn't want to have jury voir dire. She doesn't want to have to cross-examine Brandon Boudreaux, the only living witness of her crimes to date. I mean, she doesn't want to do it. And it feels an awful lot like the kid that doesn't want to go to school, but like to the 200th degree. Hold on. Wow, chat's flying by me and I'm not keeping up. By the way, thanks everybody for hanging in chat. Thank you for your thoughts and for weighing in. Lots of people know more about this than I do, so I'm learning a lot tonight. All right. Now, how do I get back to StreamYard? Oh, there's StreamYard. Hello. Malingering. If you had stomach issues, you wouldn't want the acid from oranges. Good thought. Yeah, we talked about this. Trace, and I called it from the beginning. Judge Boreski is here to stay. Like after last Friday, when everybody's like, "Oh, Judge Boreski," there were rumors flying around all the YouTubes that Judge Boreski had been actually replaced or was going to be replaced. Even considering on Thursday there was a hearing on that, and Judge Green said, "No, Judge Boreski is not going to be removed from this case." And Judge Boreski addressed this today and confirms what your friend told you and what I have believed from the beginning, that Judge Boreski is here to stay. He will be her trial judge until the end of her trial, whether that's June, July, or August. And my immediate thought was, she's sitting in her wheelchair going, can we extend it past August? Can we go for September, October, November 2027? How far can we extend it so I don't have this guy who always tells me no continue to tell me no? But by the way, Lori, it wasn't the judge that told you no in the last trial. It was the jury. The jury found you guilty, not the judge. So, right. Yeah, Wednesday is going to be interesting. Wednesday's a crapshoot. I'm going to be there for it. I'm going to be there for whatever happens, like I was today. A complete waste of time for hundreds of people and thousands or more dollars by the county. Complete waste of time and money and resources for this today, for this show. Didn't she know Friday that she was going to be sick today? That's a good point, because she was sick Friday after lunch. So she came in and she was just fine and chipper and bright on Friday morning. But when we came back from lunch Friday afternoon, she was slumped over across her desk. And by the way, that's when Judge Boreski told her, I'm not going to issue any more rulings from the bench. I'm going to issue all of my rulings as written rulings. So you can't do what you did yesterday, which was throw a fit in court on TV. He called it what happened yesterday. So coincidentally, she comes back from lunch and she's like, I don't feel so good. I'm not feeling good. Yeah. And actually, hold on. Let's go back to that for a second. The judge said to her, if you don't think you can make it to court Monday, you need to tell your team as soon as possible. And she told her team this morning, according to what we just watched, and we're going to watch again in a couple of minutes. She told her team this morning she can't make it to court. And he drug her out of her cell, out of her bed, out of her cell, out of the jail, and dragged her into court, kicking and screaming. But she's too weak to kick and scream. She had to pretend. I'm sorry. She's sick, and so she couldn't kick and scream. But she protested being taken to court. And the people felt sorry for her. All right. Yeah, she did know. She got sick at lunch on Friday. That's when she got sick. This is the first time she's had to face a live victim. True, Justine. Very true. Right. She needs a wheelchair, but she hasn't seen a doctor. I don't know who she's seen and who she hasn't. I don't know what those trunk orders are. And she said she submitted them on her tablet, so she couldn't bring evidence of them into court, but he was drilling her on those. He's like, are you faking it Like, I want to see proof that you told the jail that you're sick and that they came and checked it out. Those are the trunk orders that she didn't bring with her. And that could be valid. That could be, if I enter them on my tablet, I don't get proof of it. So I have to bring proof of it. And he can order proof of it, but he's putting the burden on her to provide proof of her sickness, her illness. Carolina. Translated beings don't get sick. I think she was just working on being a translated being. No, in her last trial, she said she was. She definitely said she was, and that her power was higher than the priesthood of the Mormon church. So she definitely said that. So maybe she's been untranslated. Ooh, that's a good episode. That's a good thought to explore. All right, let me go check chat real quick because I'm not checking chat and I should be. Where did it go? Hello. Trace, yeah, she was trying so hard to scrunch over and be hunched up. I definitely caught that. There are so many thoughts on this, girl. So many thoughts. And we're going to go over the video again. And I'm going to stop and pause like I do because I can't help myself. Let me separate this out. Here we go. Now I can find that chat easier. Boop. All right, Trace. She needs a ambulance. I can't laugh too much because what if she really is sick, people? What if she really is sick? Salty says she's lost her damn mind and she didn't get her weighed. She's showing out. That's how it feels. Like, that resonates with me, that she didn't get the judge replaced. He's denied all her motions, even though he hasn't denied all of her motions. And he did deny 3 more of her motions on Friday. He handed out the draft copies of them to both parties, and she saw that he denied them. She's not getting her way. So there are 2 trains of thoughts in my mind, that either it's her throwing a fit or it's her trying to exert some type of control over the courtroom in some way. And maybe it's both. No, the deputy wheeled her in. The same deputy that escorts her into and out of the courtroom every day, and that stands there over next to the defendant's table. And I wonder if he's the guy that has the remote that we need to try and bribe for access to that remote. I have my theories on it. Yeah, there was that pause during the latter part of that where the judge is completely quiet for like a minute at a time, and he clicks his tongue and he's thinking about the proper legal response, the proper judicial response to all of this craziness that's going on. And this one strikes home to me because that was my exact thought too, Trace. She said, I don't like to disappoint people. But she has, like, in the worst way possible. So let's look at the video one more time. Let's replay it. I'm going to pause and comment from time to time, especially during the last 5 minutes. I probably won't so much in the beginning, but I say that and I'll probably make myself a liar. Yeah, I can unmute myself for this round, and you guys can unmute yourselves too. Check chat. Yeah, she won't be better Wednesday. I'm at some point in time, so we have to think about that. At some point in time, what kind of control does a judge have over a defendant to force them to come to court, especially when they're representing themselves? Because he said to her, she said, "Are you going to come down and drag me out of my bed and force me to come to court?" And he said, "Yeah, because you are representing yourself. You have to make an appearance. Your attorney of record, which is you, has to appear in court to say, I can't appear in court." So the legal requirement to appear in court outweighs your sickness that we have no record of yet. Like that's one of the most important things I noticed. So when Trace and I went in there and the public was allowed in there, they had already started that proceeding. So we didn't hear like the first 2 or 3 minutes of that. The very first thing I heard was the judge saying to her, I'm going to be your judge forever until the end of your trial. We're like eternally married until the end of this trial type of thing. That's the first thing that I heard when I sat down in the courtroom. So by the time the public got in there, they had already started like the discussion between the judge and Lori. So yeah, that's a thing. All right. Present one more time through these 2 13-minute videos, pausing. It's going to take us like probably 25 minutes or so. And this is directly from the court's feed, so I can't change the video. I don't know how Fox 10 does it. They must have a video editor that like rearranges those 4 boxes that are on the right side. But to be honest, it's not any better than this. Like it's not any more clear than this. It's blurry. We saw the one the other day from Judge Green's courtroom.
Set for continuing jury selection, State of Arizona versus Lori Daybell. CR 2022-001242. Appearances, please.
Attorney K, on behalf of the state and for the record, the victim is
That's funny. the AI captions called Trina K Trinity. For any of you Matrix fans, that's pretty funny. I got to play that one more time because that's AI captions auto-generating that.
in the victim room.
All right.
In the victim room.
Go back one
Record,
more.
the victim is
Holy cow.
Arizona versus Lori Daybell. CR 2022-001242. Appearances, please.
Attorney K, on behalf of the state and for the record, the victim
Trinity on
is
behalf of the
in
state.
victim room.
And that's
All right.
Brandon Boudreaux that's in the victim room.
Ms.
And
Daybell.
his wife and somebody else.
Lori Daybell for the defense.
All right. Are we ready to proceed with jury selection?
No,
Why not?
I'm sick, Your Honor. I've been sick all weekend. I let my team know yesterday I was sick.
Can you please pull the microphone a little closer? I can't hear you very well.
I let my team know over the weekend I was sick. So if you are genuinely, sincerely interested in appearing in court, you will wait till Monday morning to see how you feel. And that's exactly what the judge directed her to do. If you think Monday morning that you're going to be sick, you need to direct your team. He didn't say over the weekend, but over the weekend, I'm still feeling sick. And I let my team know I'm still feeling sick. I think that's an indicator of possible deception in her alleged sickness. I'll just put it that way.
I'm sick. I've been sick.
Have you put in tank orders to get treatment?
Yes.
Are you being housed in the infirmary?
Nope. I'm housed where they put people in quarantine anyway. I'm housed alone. They would not move me from where I am.
Have they tested you for any communicable diseases?
No.
Have they tested you for any communicable diseases? No. Like, isn't that the first thing that we all thought? Like, If she's faking or not faking, tests will determine that. So what the heck is going on with you not being tested? Is it because you haven't requested to be tested? If you haven't notified the right people? Like, and I understand. So here's another thought we need to consider. Maricopa County Jail is one of the largest in the country. And I guarantee you they are understaffed. And I guarantee you they are medically understaffed. But this is also a huge high-profile case. And if this defendant is ill, they should probably be directing resources to figuring out if she's faking or not, if she has a communicable disease. But if you're at the jail and she's in solitary confinement and she can't communicable disease somebody else, then maybe you're like, let her get over it or not get over it. We don't need to be wasting resources on this person. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's hard for us to put ourselves in that position of being that jail personnel, whether it's an officer or one of the guards or it's the medical personnel, like, and being understaffed and overwhelmed, and lots of people that come in on drugs and strung out and overdosing. Like, where do you direct your resources? Just a thought.
All right.
You asked me to let my team know. I let them know yesterday at 9 a.m. that I was still
Well,
very ill.
Sometimes
Right there, I let my team know yesterday. That's not what the judge said. The judge said, if you are sick Monday morning, let your team know as soon as possible. He didn't say over the weekend. She's already sick for Monday, on Sunday, and Saturday. She's already sick for Monday. She already has predetermined in her mind that she's not coming to court on Monday. And that's when she gets into drag me out of my cell and into court. Because she's not following his instructions on when to notify. And so that gives him indicators. I bet he has kids. And I bet he has kids that have at one point in time or another not wanted to go to school on a particular day. And he's like, all right, I'm going to give you a test right now. He just like,
we're in positions where we have to proceed when we feel under the weather.
It's not just under the weather. I'm very ill.
Do you have copies of tank orders you put in for treatment?
Not with me. I put it in on the tablet.
somebody tell me about tank orders. Trace on the case. What do you know about tank orders? Somebody tell me about tank orders.
Is the DO able to check whether any tank orders were put in?
I can pull down their judge, but I don't know when she put it in.
What's that?
I think it takes about 24 hours.
They haven't even answered my tank order yet.
It takes 24 hours to respond to a tank order. Oh, we're not having jury selection Wednesday. We're not having jury selection Wednesday. Maybe. What's a solution to that? Can the judge issue an expedited response to a tank order? But this goes back to what I said before, overburdened, understaffed at the jail, and not putting her in any type of priority, which is rightfully so, but also affects this huge high profile case.
It takes them a long time.
So what symptoms are you having?
I have a terrible headache. I have nausea. I have chills. I have a fever, probably. I haven't been able to keep very much down besides broth and oranges.
Thinking, how do I handle this?
Would you be willing to have one of your advisory councils complete the 40-year process, jury selection?
Would that waive my ability to represent myself for the rest of the trial?
No.
Then can I have a moment to discuss with them for a second?
A couple things.
Did you hear that sigh? He has a couple of these sigh moments. I wish I had like a dedicated video engineer who could go through all of these videos with Judge Boreski and pull out all of these moments. Like, are you done? Are you finished? I didn't interrupt you. And would that not be like video gold? I just gave somebody like $1 million idea for free. Just
a couple things. I'm your trial judge. My instructions are to complete your second trial. So even if for some reason your sickness worsened and we weren't able to complete this trial and had to declare mistrials of this trial, even if this case got delayed into June or July or August to be reset, I'd still be your trial judge.
That's what I heard first.
Additionally, last time we did jury selection on your first trial, as I recall, you asked between probably about 5 and 10 minutes of follow-up questions of the panel before we sat the jury. I only mention that in the context of not a lot of it is expected of you at this point in the trial. Depending on how you're feeling later, we could talk about whether the opening statements would have to be further bumped to tomorrow. But I would like to keep this trial on track. So if you want a few minutes to talk to your advisory council, we can do that. Is there anything the state wants to put on the record before we do that?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
All right. Do you want to do that back in the tank?
All right, so that's the end of the first one.
Good recess for a few minutes.
All right.
All right.
All right, we're back on the record. State of Arizona versus Daybell, CR 2022-001242. The state is present. The defendant is present. Ms. Daybell.
I did discuss with my advisory council. They are not comfortable doing that. I do have a right to represent myself. I'm sorry that I'm sick. I did not plan on getting sick. I did not try to get sick. This isn't anything to do with anything other than the fact that I'm incapable of going forward.
I didn't plan to be sick. I didn't try to be sick. And Zach, yeah, you're right. It's like that kid that wakes up the morning that science fair projects are due and has not done anything, or like maybe has a few like Play-Doh sculptures on a piece of cardboard type of thing. Like, I don't want to go to school today and submit this project that I'm not qualified for. And I mean that for her, not for that poor kid that procrastinated till the last minute, because I never did that. I never procrastinated. I still don't, ever. All right, let's listen to that again. I'm still sick.
Do with anything other than the fact that I'm incapable of going forward and doing a good job representing myself. I've been incarcerated for over 5.5 years. I've only ever been sick one other time in the whole time I've been here.
All right. State want to be heard.
Judge, obviously, if the defendant is sick and she does have a right to represent herself,
Wait, what'd you just? I don't. Trina's not on the same page with all the rest of us guys. Trina knows something we don't know. I'm not starting any rumors. I'm saying Trina's saying what she's obligated to say in this position. Obviously, the defendant is sick and she has the right to represent herself. But I have witnesses that I'm flying in from out of state, and their plane tickets have to be bought now a third time for probably like $800 each. Maybe $1,000.
State want to be heard.
Judge, obviously, if the defendant is sick and she does have a right to represent herself, we understand that the concern is the state does need a date certain when we're starting. I have witnesses that I rescheduled already once to fly in this week, assuming we were starting today. I obviously will need to reschedule them again. I can't keep rescheduling them every single day onto a new flight. So I am not sure how we want to proceed at this time. If we want to give the defendant a couple days, see if this jury is available to extend out to the 25th. I know we had originally talked about that, and begin on Wednesday. I don't know if she will feel better by
Oh,
then.
Marianne. Oh my gosh. This is my thought for several months going back to before the last trial. I could see a motion for competency, maybe. So she was ruled competent when she had legal counsel back on December 5th, and the weeks and months prior to that, she was seen by two different doctors, and both doctors determined her to be competent. So what competency means is she's able to assist in her own defense. Like, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the legal definition of competency, is that someone is deemed able to assist in their own defense. That doesn't mean able to present their own defense. And I think we've all seen that like subtlety in what the word competency means and the definition of competency can hold a lot of weight in a case like this, where you have somebody who clearly is not able to present her own defense. Lawyer Lori sucks at lawyering. She does. She has missed so many things, so many opportunities. Like, she's cracked the door open on some legal issues, and she can never land the plane. She never can. Like, she's made a few valid points here and there, and the judge actually mentions one in one of his responses to her motions today, that she got information from the state late, like past the due date for discovery. So she makes some good points here and there, but she is not a competent defense attorney. She might be competent. She probably would be competent to help an actual defense attorney like Pam Hicks and Mr. Abernathy. If they were her counsel, she could probably assist them, but her presenting her own defense, she's not. She's just not. It's over her head. She's overwhelmed. She has a science fair project due tomorrow, and she has taken ill, and she'll get a 2 or 3 day or a 2 or 3 week, or will it be a 2 or 3 month delay in the deadline to submit her science fair project? All right. Yeah. Yep. Y'all understand where she's at and where she's not at. She's not at defense lawyer level. I mean, she's better at defense lawyering than somebody like Darrell Brooks at the Waukesha Christmas parade dude that totally went off nuts in the court and had to be taken out of the courtroom. So she's not that bad, but she's not a whole lot better in presenting her legal arguments that should be presented in court.
It's the only suggestion I have at this time, other than starting all over again at another date.
Is there a reason I couldn't proceed with some of the oral voir dire this morning? Because other than introducing herself, she wouldn't be expected to do anything this morning. And that way we can at least get rid of some of the jurors that, for whatever reason, would need to be excused.
Judge, my concern is she's in a wheelchair now.
Well, I would probably ask to have her sit in a regular seat and not be in a wheelchair that says MCSO across the back of it.
Oh, you guys couldn't hear us giggle at that. Like when he says she should probably not be in a wheelchair that says MCSO on the back. So that's Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, which would obviously be a clue to any jurors present in the room at the time that she's a prisoner. There was kind of like a little titter of giggling through the gallery at that. So you're going to have to do it for them because you can't hear it on this.
To have her sit in a regular seat and not be in a wheelchair that says MCSO across the back of it.
There, I did it. I did it for all of us.
I'm just not capable of going or even sitting here. I need to be laying down. I need to be getting better so that I can go forward and actually represent myself. I hope that I feel better this week and we can go forward. I can't give you any promises. I can't control any of this.
He's thinking. How do I handle this? How do I handle my child that doesn't want to go to school today? How do I, that's a long pause. We're going back to the beginning of that long pause by Judge Boreski. That is a long pause. And I mean, he's such an intelligent person and on the ball legally, like he knows the law backwards and forwards. He can recite defendant's rights. Like I watched him handle a plea deal in his regular courtroom before her May 14th hearing, and he can recite those defendant's rights by memory. He knows the law in and out. And for him to sit here and be contemplating this for so long tells me something about the sticky situation that he feels himself in right now, that she has put him in. Putting his head on his hand. Wow. Holy cow, Judge.
All right, I'll take the state's suggestion and try to salvage this.
Okay, that was right before 9 minutes, and I think we started out right around 8 minutes at the beginning of that pause.
I can't control any of this.
Yeah, 8:01. He sits there and contemplates for a full minute how he's going to handle this. A full minute.
State's suggestion and try to salvage this jury in this trial.
Wow.
I'm sure these jurors are going to be none too happy coming down today again for a dry run.
Judge, I do have one other. I don't know if we're able to, and I understand this is Judge Kemp's courtroom. If we can start earlier for the rest of the week and next week at 10, maybe take an hour for lunch. It's just ways to try to.
Yeah, I would be willing to do that. So for Friday, I have nothing else and Judge Kemp has nothing. We could start at 9 on Friday.
And I know we have at least one juror that we will have to excuse who was going camping on Friday.
Juror number 4, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just heard a couple of updates. Juror number 4 is dismissed, and court could start at 9 o'clock on Friday if she's not still sick.
My schedule, we could start at 10 on Wednesday. Let me check Judge Kemp's courtroom schedule.
Oh, whoa. That just inspired a thought in my head. Those words she just said, so Jay Lee, I hope I feel better this week and we can go forward. I can't control any of this. She's going to drag it out as long as she can. She wants the entire week off. What if she has some type of a expert report or something that was supposed to be filed by a certain date and didn't get filed by a certain date? And so that 30 days would expire if at the end of this week. What if she's holding off for that? For like the ability to enter in evidence or a witness, which she didn't do in the last trial because she didn't meet any of the rules of evidence and rules of procedure. What if, crazy thought, what if she has something that the expiration date on that would be up sometime this week or over the weekend, and then would be eligible to be entered into as evidence or a witness for her if the trial starts next week? Ooh, that's a good thought, Jay Lee. I like that. Makes us think. Hear the judges thinking again. My audio's fine. It's the judge thinking. Thinking.
I think he looks like he'll be done by 9:30 at the latest. So I think we'd be safe on telling the jurors to come back 10 a.m. Wednesday, get the jury picked, opening statements done. All right, I think I do need to bring the jurors in to tell them something. So can we have Ms. Daybell sit in a regular chair and not and bring the wheelchair out into the hallway?
Yeah. All right. This is kind of an important point here. And we're getting ready to get into the last 5 minutes of this back and forth between her and the judge. But Nikki has a point. Her expert reports are past deadlines. So the deadline is 30 days before trial. From what I understand, I'm not a legal expert. I'm not a court expert. I'm not a trial expert. I'm just an everyday Joe Schmo. But from what I understand, it's 30 days before trial. So if the actual trial doesn't start until next Monday, past deadline's already. So she can try to provide it, but it won't be let. Oh, okay. You're saying that 30 days has passed already. Okay. Now I understand what you're saying. 30 days is up already for those expert reports, but they're probably not going to be let in anyway. Okay. I gotcha. I'm picking it up now. I love all the people in chat making me think about this because there are so many angles, aspects, layers, craziness. So much. But we're getting ready to see a little exchange that I'm going to probably have to stop like every 5 seconds.
Regular chair and not and bring the wheelchair out into the hallway.
Yeah.
I don't think that I can even sit here. I need to go lay down. I don't understand.
This is so the kid that doesn't want to go to school. I don't even think I can sit here. I need to go lay down. And I'm just, gotta go lay down. And her whiny voice, I'm sorry, but her whiny voice is not that much different and weak than her normal whiny voice. Like, people are saying, oh, she looks sick, she sounds sick. And there are times when she does, when her voice is weaker, which can be forced, by the way. Crying can be faked. We've seen her do that. I'm not buying that she's sick. I'm not declaring that she's not declaratively, because I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows for sure if she really is sick or not sick. But we have our suspicions, and we're welcome to discuss them and go down that road, because she takes us there. Like, I mean, her voice in this is the same as her whiny voice in "You never grant any of my motions. You deny all of them, and there's no legal argument," which we're going to see when we get to those documents in a little bit. Maybe he was paying attention to her, or maybe we just didn't notice them in the prior responses to her motions. But he does lay down some legal foundations for his denials in these 3 or 4 that we're going to look at later.
I don't think last time you said it was going to be 15 minutes. It was an hour and a half where I was sitting here trying not to throw up on TV in front of the jurors.
Which maybe we could, all of us, leave and they could come in and just speak with you.
Wow, Trina was ready for that. That was like immediately. She's on the ball. It's like, I'm done with this girl.
Last time you said it was going to be 15 minutes. It was an hour and a half where I was sitting here trying not to throw up on TV in front of the jurors.
Oh no, I was trying not to throw up in front of TV. You can't show me throwing up on TV. And in front of the jurors. TV is the first thing she mentions that she can't be seen throwing up on. So she is well aware of the publicity of this case. She's well aware of it. Like, oops, little slip there of the tongue. A little slip of the tongue. She says TV first. I can't throw up on TV. That would look really bad for me.
Which maybe we could, all of us, leave and they could come in and just speak with you.
That's fine.
I've had that happen before where none of the parties are here and the court just advises that we're unable to proceed today.
I don't know about you rescheduling this for Wednesday. It puts a lot of pressure on me to be better and ready for Wednesday. And if I'm not, I don't.
Oh, we're getting ready to go in the whining, but I need to answer this question from AZ Mermaid. Last time she's talking about was Friday afternoon, because she came back from lunch on Friday sick. And she sat down there with her head on her arm and didn't get up when they said, "I'll rise." And that's when the judge said, due to unforeseen circumstances, we can't proceed with jury selection today. That's the last time she was talking about. So she told the judge that she was sick Friday during lunch. And he said, well, come back in and sit in here anyway while we get the jury. Maybe you'll feel better. It's only going to take like 15, 20 minutes. And it did take more than 15, 20 minutes. So she's got a point, but she's using that to whine about it. That's what last time was. Yeah, that was Friday afternoon after lunch.
Puts a lot of pressure on me to be better and ready for Wednesday. And if I'm not, I don't like to disappoint people. I don't like putting people out of their way, all the jurors and all these things, and all the pressure is on me. That's not going to help me get any better anytime soon.
So people know that she's a narcissist, and this is like one of the most narcissistic things you can say when you're sick and you're on trial for trying to unalive somebody. Like, just listen to her words.
All the jurors and all these things and all the pressure is on me. That's not going to help me.
All the pressure is on me? I'm the victim here, Judge. Can't you see all the pressure is on me? Like, if you want to bring everybody back on Wednesday, that's going to put so much pressure on me. All the pressure. She literally just said, all the pressure is on me. Well, maybe when you tried to unalive your niece's husband, that's what put pressure on you to go sit in a trial for that conspiracy to try and unalive him. So the pressure's on you now. Yeah, it is. It is. And it should be. Did I just go there? I just can't be objective about her. I try. I try. You guys see me trying, right? You see me trying to be objective?
We get any better anytime soon.
What is your suggestion?
I don't know, but I'm saying so tomorrow, if I'm not better and I let my team know, are you going to drag me in here like you did today with the team that came to get me? Do you know they felt so sorry?
Hear that little pause in that? Are you going to drag me in here with pause, the team that felt sorry for me? That pause is her mind working on what narcissistic self-victimization things can she say to make her look like the victim in this. That's 100% what she's doing right here.
What is your suggestion?
I don't know, but I'm saying so tomorrow, if I'm not better and I let my team know, are you going to drag me in here like you did today with the team that came to get me? Do you know they felt so sorry for me?
They felt so sorry for me. They felt so sorry for me. It's always all about her. Like this, that's what this last 5 minutes of this tells me, is this is always about her. Everything is about her. She's the victim. The other people felt sorry for her. Like this isn't just faking. This is a psychological disorder that she has. And I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. So I'm not making a medical opinion. I'm just saying, in everyday Joe Schmo speak, there's something wrong in that girl's head. It's all about her. I can't.
Get dragged out of bed to be here?
Yeah, the answer is yes. I probably will order that you be here Wednesday. We'll take tomorrow off. Because I need to confirm how you're feeling. You because you represent yourself, no one else can waive your own appearance.
You're welcome to come over to the jail and come to my cell and see how I'm doing.
Hold on. This cracked everybody up. Also, they may not have caught it on the mic. Judge Bareski, I love you for this, for a lot of other things too. But this response to her was awesome. Like, he is totally nonplussed. He's over her, but he's also totally nonplussed. He has to stop and think for a full minute about how to respond to her ridiculousness, and then later for like 30 seconds. But this is awesome. This is like short worthy.
Because I need to confirm how you're feeling. You because you represent yourself, no one else can waive your own appearance.
You're welcome to come over to the jail and come to my cell and see how I'm doing in there.
All right, I'll take a pass on that.
That was like off the cuff. Like, there was no pause. There was no hesitation. He's like, all right, I'll take a pass on that. Love this guy. Oh.
All right. With the consent of the parties, then we'll have the parties exit. I'm going to tell the jury we're going going to try to get this done on Wednesday. Obviously, that depends on whether the defendant's feeling better or not.
He didn't. Oh my gosh, there's another sigh. Do you hear that sigh? That was an audible, loud sigh. But he says we're going to try to get this done on Wednesday, depending on how the defendant feels. It's not about whether, he didn't say whether or not the defendant is still ill or still sick or still symptomatic. Like, he didn't say it clinically. He said it like whether she still feels sick. Judge B, you just opened the door for her. I'm sorry, but you just opened the door for her because she will say Wednesday morning, I still feel sick. We're going to have to take a look at those trunk orders. I have them. So I'll be there Wednesday morning. We'll be in court to cover this. Trace and I will. And we may have to see trunk orders on Wednesday morning for her to prove that she really is ill or sick to keep on delaying her trial like this. But listen to this sigh. This sigh is just so symbolic of the entire mess.
Done on Wednesday. Obviously, that depends on whether the defendant's feeling better or not.
You hear that?
We will, I'll tell them to be here ready to go at 10 a.m. Wednesday unless they hear something else. So I'll go ahead and ask the parties to exit. We'll keep the FTR running for the record.
Okay. All right. I said stop sharing. So that was a lot to unpack, and we actually have more to unpack. I'm going to take a quick stretch break just because my knees are killing me. We had rain over the weekend, and that my right knee is arthritic, and it has been killing me today. But so I got to stretch. We have documents to look at. We still have my juror number 15 story. Do y'all want to look at the documents, or do you want to hear my juror number 15 story? The new juror number 15, not Carl. Like, I need to see in chat. Which one do you guys want? Juror number 15 story or the documents? Because we can save juror number 15 till the last. The new Carl. Both? Can we do both? No, I can't do both. I am not that talented. Hold on. Leslie, yes, we can. Let's save that till the end, though, for people who came here for the docs and or the juror 15 story. Absolutely, I will pull that up. Nate is awesome. East Idaho News has never given me any type of a copyright strike. They let me play all of their content all the time. We will go look at that. Yeah, I'm writing that down right now. I'm taking notes. Rachel Smith, Nate Eaton, Rachel Smith. Play a video and go stretch. I stretched like a 30-second stretch was enough for now. Jamie, thanks for hanging with us. I appreciate it. Come back and watch the doc drop on replay because there's a couple of interesting things in there. We'll try and get through them in fairly efficient order. But thanks for hanging, Jamie. I appreciate it. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to look something up. I can shift midstream. Here we go. Nate Eaton, Rachel Smith streamed 23 hours ago. It's an hour long. Holy cow. I can't play an hour long video and go stretch for an hour and come back and find 3 people watching. I can't do that. Oh gosh. All right. Widespread Panic is doing dishes. Got to get those dishes done. I actually have to get out the recycling tonight when we're done here. Luckily, I'm Pacific time, so I got time to get out the recycling, but it's due in the morning, and I have like 4 bags of recycling to get out in the can, in the recycling can. Okay. So I think the vote was for my new juror number 15 story. Y'all down for this? So I saw this guy yesterday and he did something. So this jury pool is so large, they have to bring the jurors up in different elevators. And it takes them like a good 10 minutes because elevators come up, they go down. You put in as many people as you can. They get off the elevator. And he did something when he got off the elevator that caught my attention. But this guy, and I don't know what actual juror number he is. I haven't seen that yet, but I will be paying attention when we finally get to jury selection. So right before they let the public and the media in, and then the jury in eventually today, there's also a trial going on in the other end of the courthouse, or in the other end of the 5th floor of the courthouse. So we're in 5D. There was also a trial going on in 5C, which is across. So they start assembling the jury for this trial on the opposite end of the floor, on the south end of the floor, which is by 5A and 5B. But then they start assembling the jury for 5C, which is across from ours and not our jury, and right in front of us, where we're standing, sitting, talking the case in the waiting room outside of courtroom 5C and 5D. It's like a common waiting room for both courtrooms, and at the other end is the common waiting room for 5A and 5B. So they are assembling this jury for the other trial that's across from ours at the same time as they're assembling our jury on the other end of the floor, the complete end of the floor. So these people are right next to us, intermingled with us. And some people are like, oh, are these jurors? And I'm like, no, these are not jurors for our case. These are jurors for a different trial. And you can look down at the other end and see people that I recognize from Friday down at the other end. And plus our courtroom assistant, our awesome, magnificent courtroom assistant is down there with him. And there is another courtroom assistant that is with these jury peoples. But in the middle of that, and so she tells them line up in order, juror numbers 1 through 30 something. And I'm like, see, there's confirmation that this isn't ours because we have jurors like 1 through 80 something. But she's telling them to line up, and then this guy comes over and stands behind that group of jurors, and then he moves over into the line of people in the public waiting to get into Lori's jury selection. And he's an older gentleman that has typical male pattern baldness. Don't look at the back of my head. He kind of reminds me of Mr. Magoo a little bit. And there's an actor that I didn't look up before this that he reminds me of too, that kind of looks like Mr. Magoo. He comes over and he gets in between that queue line and the back of the seats where we all sit down. So you have row of seats 1, row of seats 2, queue line 1, queue line 2, that are all of the public waiting to get in. He goes and stands and he puts something on the floor, and it looked to me like a notebook of some kind. And I'm like, who is this guy? And then he stands up and he turns around, and they put these green tags on their shirts, like on their chest, left chest, right chest, wherever it is, that say juror. So you can know when you're walking through the courthouse at any time that this person is a juror. So I'm like, okay, this is a juror for this trial that's going on in 5C. This isn't one of Lori's jurors. So it's okay that he's like standing here, because even if we're all talking Lori's case, and I wasn't talking Lori's case at the time, and I didn't, but other people were, because that's what we do. He's standing there right behind our seats, right next to the queue line of the public, the first queue line of the public, just standing there until it's time for us to go in. And then he wanders back down to the other end, the south end of 5A and 5B. So the judge kept out the jury until the very end today, so he could tell them that it was time for them to go home around 11:30, whatever time that was. We have to dismiss. So they start letting the jury file in, and they fill in the seats on the right side of the gallery. Row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, and then they fill in row 1 on the left side and part of row 2 on the left side. And I look over, and the very first person on the left end of the first row on the right side of the gallery is that guy. He came over and he stood behind us intentionally before they got called into court. It's not weird. I say it's not weird. This was an intentional act by this juror. Like, just like Carl did. Remember when I had that story about Carl? When we were on lunch break and he came and he stood at the corner between the elevators and the men's room, and he was within 20 feet of us, the public and the media. I don't know if it's my job to report him, but it definitely happened because he has a very distinct face. Like I said, he looks like Mr. Magoo without the glasses, and there's an actor that looks like that, and I could pull it up and you would immediately recognize who that person was, because it's like he's got the fringe hair around here and that, like, that very distinct nose and facial features. I'm not going to report him. But I just, like, I told you, I told you yesterday, I found my juror 15. So, you know what though? Can you report him, Leslie? If he makes it on the jury, I probably will have a problem with that. I will probably have a very, very strong problem with that, because I do not want a mistrial based on somebody's stupid actions. We do not need a mistrial in this. We need it to go fast. We need it to be over. And we need Lori to go and live the rest of her life eating green bologna or whatever it is they have in Idaho. No, it's not one of Lori's minions, Sinbad. No, it's just an idiot. It's just an idiot, like, very clearly breaking the rules. Very clearly, he intentionally. So I thought it was weird, because when he came, he went and he lined up in the queue and he put something down on the floor, and then he stood up and then he kind of looked to the left and looked to the right and just stood there like nonchalant. he was all nonchalant, and then eventually he disappeared and we went into the courtroom. But good grief, why? And I'm guessing maybe a little bit, maybe somewhere in between my age and Carl's age is what I'm guessing his age. You know, he might be closer to my age than Carl's age, but definitely that more than middle-aged white male with the male pattern baldness and a need to go stand by the public before he goes in for jury selection. So here's a possibility. What if he was going and doing that so he could say to the judge, "Oh no, I heard some, oh no, I just lost my camera. I got to do this again." That's like a signal to my camera to either follow my face or not follow my face. But maybe it's so he can say to the judge, "Oh, I heard something out in the hallway," because they do not take any efforts at all to separate the jury. I mean, I won't say at all. That's over exaggeration. They do not take sufficient efforts to keep the jury separate from the public and the media, and it's going to become a problem. And let me tell you another story about why that is. Do you want to hear more stories, or do you want me to get to the documents? This is probably like another 5 to 10 minute story about how the media and the public should be kept separate from the jury, and they're not in Maricopa County Superior Court. All right. Okay, one more story. So after that video that we just watched, the judge brings in the jury, and the public is still seated. The public and media, we're still seated where we're seated on the left side. And there's 2 rows open, and the judge brings the jury in, and he tells them, "I'm super embarrassed. This has never happened to me before in my entire career, but due to unforeseen circumstances," he didn't use it this time again because he knows it would have been probably fallen on deaf ears. We're going to have to postpone until Wednesday, 10 a.m. So I'm asking you all to come back Wednesday, 10 a.m. We're releasing juror number 4. So we're going to have to extend to Friday. And juror number 4 had a problem. He had a camping trip on Friday. So we're going to release juror number 4. So juror number 4 gets released. Everybody else is still in the jury pool and is told, "Come back Friday at 10 a.m. You're dismissed." He didn't, and they didn't even say, "I'll rise for the jury." I stood up because I'll rise for the jury every time. I'll rise for the judge, even if I'm not told to, because I totally respect their service. And a lot of other people did too. There were only like 1 or 2 that didn't. They're filing out, and there are jurors that are like, so the judge says, "If anybody this is an inconvenience, and I'll make it up to you. If you make it on the jury, I'll like buy donuts for the jury or something. I'll make it up to you." And everybody laughs at that too. Then they get up and they're go dismiss. There are still some jurors that are like joking amongst themselves, that are like lighthearted and smiling, but there are definitely some jurors that are pissed. There are definitely jurors that are pissed and have scowls and frowns and are shaking their head like, what is going on here? There are jurors that are like, what is going on here? So they all go down back to the south end of the 5th floor between courtrooms A and B, and the 2 court assistants, the male and the female, are talking to them, and the rest of us is like chaos. Like everybody's, what the hell just happened? Because we don't have camera. We all noted certain things about what Lori said, what she did, what the judge said to her, what she said back. We all had to like take really quick notes because all of that exchange literally happened in like 13 minutes. And there's no way that you could write all that down on the spot. Some people are better at it than others. I'm not. I got like 12 highlight quotes. So we're all like comparing notes, and there's chaos. And then people start like going down the elevators to the 1st floor. Well, jurors also start taking elevators down to the 1st floor. Trace and I rode on an elevator with Pam Hicks and Mr. Abernathy, the 2 defense advisory counsel. And neither one of us made eye contact or said a word. I kind of glanced at Pam out of the corner of my eye, and she was also refusing to make eye contact because they can't talk to the public. They can't talk to the media. they can't talk to anybody. So you're riding down an elevator for 30, 40, 50 seconds, totally silent and a little bit awkward. But we get to the bottom floor, we go one direction, they go another direction, and there's like a group of people who came to watch this morning that didn't get in, that are standing there in the corner, and they're like, okay, what happened in there? We want to hear what you think happened in there, what you saw happen in there. So I stop and talk to them for about 5 minutes. In the meantime, well, I'll tell you this part in a second. So we wrap up our conversation. I say, have a good day. Walk out of the courtroom, and there's another content creator that is sitting immediately out of the courthouse with their phone in their face, getting ready to do a live. They're not doing a live yet, but they're preparing to do a live. And in the meantime, there are still jurors coming out of the courthouse and walking behind that person on the sidewalk that's down below to get over to their coach. And I'm like, holy crap, I hope this person doesn't go live right here outside the exit door of the courthouse. And I went and looked on their page afterwards, and they did. And there are jurors walking out of the courthouse and walking on the sidewalk below them. Probably those people on the sidewalk below couldn't hear them, but people, maybe jurors coming out of the courthouse, maybe could have. And I'm like, how much is this messing things up by not taking more precautions to keep the jury pool separate from the public and the media? But I also thought back to my little conversation that I had when I got off the elevators and ran into that little group of other people that couldn't get into the hearing because there were only 12 seats for the public in the hearing, by the way. There were probably jurors coming down the elevators and walking past us while I was having that conversation with them that I was completely unaware of, because I'm not Mr. Observant. I'm not Mr. Observant. I'm not super observant about certain things. And when I'm in a social situation and I'm engaging with people, I don't see anything else. So it's possible that I screwed up the exact same way. And I mentioned something about the case while there were jurors still coming down the elevators and exiting the building. Sinbad. No, you didn't. I will neither confirm nor deny that. I will neither confirm nor deny that. Lauren from Hidden True Crime has been really good to me during this trial. This morning, I told her about my 2000. She gave me a high five. And I said, you know, I'm already thinking about what's next after Lori. And we had a really heart-to-heart about that. She gave me some really cool advice about where to, you know, what to follow in this field, what to follow in true crime, what to follow in trial watching, what to follow in all of that. So I have nothing bad to say about Lauren. Mr. Magoo would be lurking. Yeah. I wish I could find that picture of that juror. Okay, let's do documents now. Those are my stories. Those are my cautions to the Maricopa County Superior Court about keeping jurors separate from the media and the public. Like other courts have figured it out. It's not rocket science, but it does require some effort. And by the way, I also had a discussion with the court security officer this morning before we went in. And we had a little talk about how people get let in, how the public gets let in, because it's first come, first serve. That is literally the court order for who gets to get into the hearings and the trial and the jury selection. It's first come, first serve. So when you show up on the courthouse steps at 6:30 in the morning and you sit there for an hour waiting for the doors to open, like this morning, and you get in there, the way they've done it in the past is you can get into the first morning hearing at 10:30, but then you break for lunch at noon, which is only an hour and a half later. So you watch an hour and a half of court proceedings, and then you have to run out of the courtroom and go get back in line because it totally reorganizes into a new order. So I had a little chat with him this morning about it. He was receptive to my thoughts, and he actually said, okay, just for today, and hopefully this carries over into Wednesday too, because Wednesday will be what today should have been, or hopefully Wednesday will be what today should have been. Once you get a seat, you're in that seat for the rest of the day. First in the morning. And that's what we did at the beginning of the last trial before they started interfering and they started changing the rules, saying you had to reorder at lunch. And it just creates chaos. And he says, well, I expect people to act like adults. And I will tell you, with true crime trial watching, people don't act like adults. People don't. All right. Let's start looking at these documents. So the judge gave several smackdowns of Lori's motions, and he did it last week, and he gave both sides those rulings last week. So she knew going into the weekend that the judge had denied her motions. She knew that going into the weekend. And if you just watched that last hearing, she said, I was sick all weekend, and I told my team over the weekend that I was going to be sick and I wasn't going to be able to come to court. She got those rulings where he dismissed her motions on Friday. So she was sick before she got those, but she was even sicker after she got those. I guarantee it. And we're going to look at those now. They came down this morning. They didn't post over the weekend. Everybody kept asking me about them, and they didn't come in. They didn't come in, and they came down this morning. And because Lauren is so awesome to me, her producer Grayson came over and said, where are you finding those at? And I showed her where they're finding them at. And I shared that with her, where I found those motions. She actually went down to like one of the court offices and asked them for them, and the court office wouldn't release them to her, or said they didn't have them or couldn't give them or whatever it was. And she came back up and I shared them with them. And I don't have a problem with that, because rising tide raises all boats. So let's look at the bottom line of this to figure out what it is. This is the motion in limine. So this is about Tammy Lachik, right? This is the Tammy Lachik motion in limine by the state to file the motion in limine under seal. And Lori objected to it being filed under seal, kind of. So the documents that were filed before, that I've reviewed before on other shows, the state's motion in limine to preclude inadmissible evidence. So as a motion in limine to preclude inadmissible evidence under seal, the defendant's objection and the defendant's response to the state's motion. The defendant's request to unseal the state's motion is denied. Big shocker. The specific conduct occurring on December 30th does not implicate the witness's character or truthfulness, and the remoteness of that witness's contact on or around December 30th, 2024. So there was a personal incident, and Kresha and I explored this on one of our lives together, one of our co-streams. There was a personal incident with this witness, Tammy Lachik. And we at first were like, we need to see that body cam. And then we're both like, we probably don't need to see that body cam, because it's probably something personal, maybe potentially embarrassing to Tammy Lachik. And that's why the state filed to have it sealed. And the defense objected to it being filed under seal. While the specific conduct alleged would be relevant to impeach the witness's memory or ability to recall information on or about December 30th, it is too far removed from November 18th to make the conduct relevant. That's kind of a subjective term. Too far removed? Probably so. That's 5 years. Like if you say she engaged in some type of embarrassing behavior and was maybe intoxicated on December 30th, 2024, does it impeach her ability to have accurately recollected information from November 18th, 2019? The judge says, nope. It is ordered provisionally granting the state's motion in limine regarding this witness's specific conduct on December 30th, 2024. Should the defendant think she has established through cross-examination some nexus, should the defendant, that's Lori, think that she has established through cross-examination some nexus between that conduct, December 30th, 2024, and the witness's work on this case, that's November 18th, 2019, the defendant shall ask outside the presence of the jury to reconsider this ruling before asking questions regarding the witness's conduct on December 30th, 2024. So it seems like there's some type of a potentially embarrassing video out there from Tammy Lachik's behavior on December 30th, 2024. Haven't seen it, don't know it, but the judge is once again saying you haven't established relevancy, and she has trouble establishing relevancy in all of her motions, except for the one to meet with her defense counsel on her breaks. She can do that now, and that means they have to have a shorter lunch period. Yeah, so every time I see Pam Hicks, I feel a little bit sorry for her. Yes, trace on the case, fifth largest. All right. Yes, quite so. Boop, boop, boop. Yeah, so, I mean, do we hold a personal crisis that was handled poorly against a witness? Lori wants to. She wants that video from December 30th, 2024 to be unsealed. Lots of thoughts about that. All right. So the next motion. This is about the phone data and text messages on Alex's phone. The defendant argues phone data and text messages related to Alex Cox should be precluded for two reasons. The messages are hearsay, one. So do you guys remember when she said, all of my motions, you deny all of my motions, and there's no legal basis for them? I think we might see some here. Hold on one second. Pause 1 second. Pause 1 second. Let's go. That's East Idaho News. I have that actually. That's too short. Witnesses in her trial. Give me 1 second to find this, because I kind of want to play that again before these motions, because it brings us back to that. Hold on 1 second. Bloop, bloop, bloop. No, never mind. All right. You know what? I do need to take a quick break. So I'm going to play a little bit of her May 14th hearing for y'all's enjoyment while I take a quick break, and then I'll be right back. I promise. After these messages, we'll be right back. Stop screen. We'll come back to this. We'll come back to that and the next two motions after that. Thank you for your patience.
I need to get with the jury office. I think we were talking about sending it out the 22nd and cutting it off the 28th or 27th. And then we'll meet again on the 29th in this courtroom to go over the responses. That'll be
versus Lori Daybell.
That's the name of the case.
Questionnaire. Do you not think that was a problem?
What personal information?
The state versus
On the 29th.
Your Honor, in light of the juror misconduct or the alleged juror misconduct, I have to object to us having so much information go out about my personal information in that jury questionnaire. Do you not think that was a problem?
What personal information?
The state versus Lori Daybell.
That's the name of the case.
Yeah, but you don't put that on anyone else's questionnaire or one other person that's ever had that questionnaire ever put out with their name on it. They just don't do it.
Do it in every trial I've done.
Then the people are just going to Google it, and then we're going to have the same exact problem we had getting a jury for that case. We're going to have the same exact problem.
Are you done? Are you just going to keep? Okay. How do we screen for if people have heard about you if we don't include your name? Do you have a response to that?
I'm just saying, you gave them the name and they're just going to Google it.
They're instructed not to Google it. All right. And if you'll recall, when we had all the jurors come in person, one of the first questions I asked them in the afternoon was, who has looked up this case since you filled out the questionnaire? And we had 2 or 3 people raise their hand, and those people were excused. So I have to include your name to screen out for the people that know about your case. And we released about 100 jurors last time because of their answers to that. If we don't include your name, that's 100 extra jurors we have to go through in person and ask if they know you. And in fact, that increases the risk of tainting the rest of the jury pool. If we have someone stand up and say, yeah, I know about her case in Idaho where blah, 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 in front of the rest of the jurors, that'll burn the whole panel. We'll have to start over. So I'm going to include your name in the questionnaire. I don't think there was any other personal information or background information about you in that questionnaire other than your name. So was there any other issues you had with the questionnaire?
No, Your Honor.
So the schedule will be, we'll meet 1 p.m. to go over those answers.
Bloop, bloop. I'm back. Yeah, we didn't really get to the part in that hearing about these particular documents. No Pokemon. Yep, Queen Creek, Santan Valley. Yeah, familiar with that area. Recently familiar with it. It is a pretty nice area. There are a lot of homes that have been built like since the early 2000s. Like you remember the housing boom of 2005, 2006, 2007, before the housing crash of 2008, 2009. A lot of homes built in that era. We didn't get to the part in that hearing about these, but we can still read through the rest of these. Smackdowns. I call these smackdowns because it's so funny. She said, you never grant any of my motions. Or should we watch that? Should we keep watching till she says that? Let's do that. Let's watch to the end of this hearing. Like I can watch it and watch it and watch it and watch it. Because Judge Boreski just handles her like very few judges would be capable of handling her. Like, can you imagine Fran Gohl or Beverly Cannoni having to deal with her?
On the 29th. On the 30th, we'll meet at 10. We'll have walk-in jurors that morning that will fill out the questionnaire. And then the people that survive are screening on the 29th, and those that survive the morning of the 30th will come in the afternoon of the 30th. This will be back in the courtroom we were in last time, 5D of the South Court Tower. Again, I expect to seat that jury that some point that afternoon.
Your Honor.
And then we'll plan on going Monday through Thursday.
She's getting
June
ready to
2nd
go there.
June 5th.
Your Honor.
Then June 9th to June 13th, and if need be, June 23rd.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I'd have to ask that you would recuse yourself from the obvious personal bias that you have against me and send us to master calendar for this scheduling of a trial.
And what personal bias is that?
A lot, obviously, the personal bias that you're showing right now and that you've shown on the FTR several times during the trial.
Okay, well, I don't have any personal bias. All right. I've over accommodated you on when you have to disclose things. In fact, your expert should be summarily precluded today, and I haven't done that. All right. So
you denied every single one of my motions since for a year and a half that I've been here. Every single one of my motions has been denied. And have any of those motions not had merit? You've denied every single motion.
I think I was here this morning about 15 minutes ago when I granted your motion to meet with your attorneys over the lunch hour.
I love that line.
I have granted other motions of yours. Okay.
That's the first motion that you've ever granted.
Well,
in my behalf.
File
No,
motions
that's
that
not
have
true.
a legal basis, and I might grant them.
That's the part that I wanted to get to in this. File motions that have a legal basis, and I will grant them. All right. Now we can start reading through the rest of the motions, or the response to the motions that have no basis in legal merit. But he does do a little more legal citations in these. I feel like just reading through them. I read them through twice this morning waiting in the waiting room. And I feel like he went to a little bit of extra trouble to discuss the legal aspects of his denials. The defendant argues phone data and text messages relating to Alex Cox should be precluded for being hearsay, and the information was illegally obtained. Alex Cox's text messages are admissible pursuant to Arizona rules of something, rule of evidence, specifically defined as not hearsay if the statements are made by the parties conspirator during and in furtherance of the conspiracy. They were. The defendant cites the Stored Communications Act in support of her assertion that the phone information was unlawfully obtained. However, that same act, so here he is, he's citing code now, since she has accused him of not citing any legal basis for his denials in the past. I kind of feel like he's going overboard to include this. The same act in section 2703 states that the content of wire or electronic communication, electronic storage, etc., are only accessible by the government pursuant to a warrant. The defendant goes on to cite various requirements for PIN register and trap and trace warrants, which we all probably knew this, are not applicable to this case because those are not types of warrants issued in this case. Those warrants refer to ongoing monitoring of lines, commonly referred to as wiretaps. So she's getting this legal information basis for filing an appeal from somewhere. So here's a thought. When she's in county jail, so a lot of state prisons have quote unquote law libraries where inmates can go in. Some of them can actually like obtain credits towards a law degree, but they can also like research cases and laws inside the prison law library. I've heard that county jails do not have anything like that. So where do we think she's getting these cases to cite in these motions that she's filing. Any ideas, anybody? So, continuing with this, page 2 of 2 pages, so we're getting close to the end. The defendant's reply admits that warrants were issued, we're up here, but argues they fail to acknowledge that the state courts and law enforcement are obligated by federal and state laws to ensure the revised or amended statutes are followed. This is in her reply, page 1. However, Judge Boreski says, it is not the state's burden to establish any of those things. It is the defendant's burden to establish that the warrants, I would put that in there, that the warrants were not lawfully obtained. If a warrant had been issued, there is a presumption that the warrant is valid. That's because another judge signed off on the warrant, right? If a warrant has been issued, there's a presumption that the warrant is valid. That means that a judge reviewed the warrant and the facts stated in the warrant and agreed that there was probable cause. The requisite probable cause having been shown. I guess they said that a different way, and I said it a different way. It is then the individual's burden to prove the invalidity of the search and seizure, citing specific state code, Arizona, and Arizona. So all state cases, not state code, state cases. Defendant has a limited right under the Fourth Amendment of the United States to challenge the validity of a search warrant by controverting the factual allegations made in the affidavit in support of the warrant. So we've all seen, well, most of us have seen that a search warrant is issued based on the affidavit of a law enforcement officer involved in the investigation of that case. So it's her job to go to that affidavit that's in support of the warrant and find something wrong with it and give like factual legal reasons for that warrant or that affidavit or the affidavit in support of the warrant to be thrown out. And she didn't do that. According to Judge Boreski, a defendant must show that a misstatement or omission in the affidavit was deliberate or reckless on the affiant's part. That's actually a fairly high burden of proof. A defendant, sorry, I should have muted. A defendant must show that a misstatement or omission in the affidavit was deliberate or reckless. Hold on. I got to take a drink. And that the misstatement or omission was material to the finding of probable cause. So that's a Franks hearing. Franks versus Delaware. We hear about Franks hearings a lot. The defendant did not attach the individual warrants. Lawyer Lori added again, the defendant did not attach the individual warrants nor the affidavits associated with any warrant. Finally, other than making a statement that the information collected from an iCloud account went beyond the permissible scope of the warrant, the defendant has not submitted any evidence of that. Once again, she makes claims and assertions that things are invalid, warrants are invalid, evidence shouldn't be admitted, but she doesn't provide any underlying factual evidence of that, anything to support it. She didn't include the warrant in her submittal to have it thrown out. Is she right? Because I said, Marianne, exactly. Your Honor said it's not fair. It's not fair. You deny all of my motions, Your Honor. You've got to have judges telling her what she's got to have. I'm not going to tell you what she's got to have. It is ordered denying the defendant's motion to preclude evidence of phone data and text messages from Alex Cox's phone. Her motion being dated May 5th, 2025. All right. What is this one? This is a one-page. So, hey, we're going to get through this fairly quickly, right? Lori Daybell, representing herself, inmate G062213. The court has received and reviewed the following: the defendant's motion to dismiss and the state's response to the motion to dismiss for non-preservation of crucial evidence. The defendant fails to establish with any specificity what additional relevant specificity and relevant. I don't know that she gets those words. What additional relevant evidence could have been discovered had the actual car door and window been preserved by the police? Nor does the defendant assert what additional testing, measurements, or analysis could have been done had those items been preserved. Finally, the defendant also fails to assert how additional analysis would or could lead to exculpatory evidence. Once again, she fails miserably in the court of law to support her motions with any type of anything that any judge. Say Judge Boreski was like, hey, I'm going to do everything in my power, and he has at times, to help her not fail. She can't stop failing. She can't stop failing with the legal arguments, with the rules of evidence, with the rules of procedure, with the rules of discovery. She can't stop failing. All right, we got one more to go through. Una más. This one's only 2 pages. MCSO inmate male 0000. Is that her inmate mailbox number? 0000? Interesting. Now you know where to send her mail. You can Trace, let's send her some Justice for JJ, Tylee, and Charles wristbands. Like, boom, like that. Let's send her one of those to her mailbox. Oh, I digest. The court has received and reviewed the following. This is about the Jeep Wrangler. Defendant's motion to suppress all evidence pertaining to the Jeep Wrangler, the state's motion to the defendant's or the state's response to the defendant's motion, and then the defendant's reply to the state's response to the motion to suppress all evidence pertaining to the Jeep Wrangler with that license plate number. The defendant's motion alleges that the Jeep was seized in Idaho without a warrant, which is apparently not correct. I'm a little confused by that word. Why would a judge use the word apparently not correct? Either it is or it isn't. The defendant's reply states that she did receive late disclosure. This is an important point in this one, guys. Gosh darn it, why can't I highlight those words? Let's go to comment. No, boop, boop. Here we go. The defendant's reply states she received late disclosure, which revealed that the Jeep was, in fact, seized pursuant to a warrant. But here's the key word. I'm going to underline this. I can't do underline and highlight. Oh, Acrobat, you're letting me down. Anyway, the Jeep was held in police impound until a second search warrant was issued, at which time a search of the Jeep was conducted. Whether the state did disclose the information late, this is a key point. Bloop. Whether the state did disclose the information late is a separate issue to be dealt with separately, but late disclosure does not impact the substance of whether the issued warrants were valid or invalid. So you have what occurred at the time that the Jeep was seized, which was there was an original warrant issued to seize the Jeep, and then there was a second warrant issued to search the Jeep. So search and seizure, Fourth Amendment, they apparently had their warrants in issue on that, but Lori didn't know about that because the state did disclose that to her after the deadline. The defendant asserts, without any evidence that the Jeep was unlawfully seized, the defendant attached no copy of the search warrant in question. Why? Like, if all she had was basic public defense, they would have known this. They would have known, okay, we're going to submit the warrant with this motion. We're going to submit it with a motion, and we're going to point out specific things in the warrant that we have a problem with, but we're going to include a warrant, which is the document that we have a problem with. But she doesn't know that, and her excuse is always, I'm in solitary confinement 23 hours a day in the jail, and I have problems doing things. Okay, you didn't have to choose to represent yourself. You could have had attorneys, a team of attorneys on the outside working on this day and night. So cry me a river about being locked up 23 hours a day and you have trouble getting access to your investigator and you just sign a stack of subpoenas and you can't get your paralegal to produce documents for you. You chose this path on December 6th, 2024, and I was there in person for it. Trace, we're going to have to go back and watch that. That's the day that we introduce ourselves to each other, December 6th, when she was granted by Judge Bresky the right to represent herself. That's like, in my mind, that's like the most momentous day of both of these trials, is when she was granted the right to represent herself. And I'm not saying she doesn't. I'm just saying she shouldn't have. But there are a lot of things in her life she shouldn't have done. All right, deep breath. We're almost through all of these. Thank you all for hanging in there with me. Tolerating my rants. Yeah, she does that. She does that to lots of people, actually. She does that to lots of people. And it'll be nice when she's done doing that to lots of people when this case is over. And she's trying to make it over not as soon as it could be. All right. If a warrant has been issued, it's presumed the warrant is valid. All right, let's go down to the next paragraph. a defendant has a limited right under the Fourth Amendment of the United States. That's the right to not have illegal search and seizure. To challenge the validity of a search warrant by controverting the factual allegations made in the affidavit in support of the warrant. So once again, we get to the affidavit, which is almost always by a law enforcement officer. So we saw this in Delphi, Richard Allen. Tony Liggett supposedly wrote the affidavit in support of the search warrant of Richard Allen's home, but he was also supposedly assisted in writing that affidavit by the judge that signed off on the warrant, which is a huge violation of constitutional rights. That's a big no-no. The judge cannot help the law enforcement officer write the affidavit. In that case, Delphi, Richard Allen, Abby and Libby, justice for Abby and Libby, always write that. And that's almost an incontrovertible fact at this point. It's more than speculation. Anyway, on with Lori's case. A defendant must show that a misstatement or omission in the affidavit was deliberate or reckless on the affiant's part. So this is a repeat of what we saw before, in that the misstatement or omission was material to the providing of the material cause. All right, Franks again, Worth Franks, where the defendant makes a substantial preliminary showing that a false statement knowing or intentionally or with reckless disregard for the truth was included by the affiant in the warrant. Wow, this is a mouthful. And if the allegedly false statement is necessary to the finding of probable cause, the Fourth Amendment requires that a hearing be held at the defendant's request. Franks versus Delaware, this is a Franks hearing. These are really, really critical in trials, big trials, small trials. Franks hearings, though, particularly with evidence that is crucial to a finding of guilty or not guilty. As has been explained, Judge B, as has been explained to this defendant previously, just making a statement. All right, we got to highlight this. I got to use my highlighter again, because this is a recurring theme. Just making a statement that something is unlawful is not evidence, nor does a conclusory statement create a substantial preliminary showing. Just making a statement that something is lawful is not evidence. Making a conclusory statement creates a substantial preliminary showing was materially false. Anyway, here the state does acknowledge that the wrong year number for the Jeep was listed. Ooh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. But that would hardly impact the determination of probable cause to issue a warrant. I kind of want to check into that more, because I don't necessarily agree with that. Because if you found this Jeep based off of your highway plate reader things that you have, that the DEA has up on highways running north to south from Mexico up all the way to Canada pretty much, and that plate reader said that plate belonged to a certain year Jeep, and Tylee's Jeep was a different year, I think that could be material. Not material to Lori's guilt or innocence in this, but material to that evidence being admissible or inadmissible. So this is one of those I'm going to disagree with the judge's ruling just a little bit. But that would hardly impact the determination of probable cause to issue a warrant. I don't necessarily agree with that. but that's me. The defendant, wait, how did that not? There we go. The defendant has presented nothing either other than hyperbole. All right, I got to go check chat. We're almost done with this. Mariana, it could have been a transcription error, but you shouldn't have transcription errors when you're doing a search warrant as a law enforcement department. DEA, state highway patrol, local transcription errors, and having somebody be charged with a serious criminal offense, that's a problem in my mind. That's a problem in my mind, but like I said, it does not change her guilt or innocence in this case. It just, in my mind, if she were a lawyer or she had a good or even average legal team, because she has a below average legal team right now, she might be able to challenge that evidence successfully, but her motion doesn't and didn't. And we're going to see in a second what Judge B says. Boop. It is ordered denying the defendant's motion to suppress all evidence. Denying the defendant's motion. So denied again. Smackdown. She doesn't represent herself well. She can't and she doesn't. Okay, everybody. We've been going 2 hours and 42 minutes, and I have to get out recycling tonight, and I have to start wrapping things up for bed. I'm still not used to Pacific time, but I kind of like it right now because I still have some chores to do. I got to get out recycling before they come in the morning. So thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Yeah, yep, she is. I honestly, you know what? I know that was sarcasm, but I honestly believe that she might be sick in the head, like she probably is, based on just total layman's observations of somebody who is in her position. And I honestly don't believe she's competent to present her own defense. If she had a real defense team, I believe she would be competent to assist them. But for her to be in a position to represent herself, I really don't think she is. Just my personal opinion. And everybody's entitled to their differing opinion, and I appreciate and welcome those all the time. Chat is great. You guys are awesome. You're always making me think and challenging me to think about things outside the box, outside of my own box. So thank you very much. Pokemon, thank you for modding for me so much. Thanks everybody for the 2,000. We made 2,000. Woohoo! I don't do Bob Mata dances. I can't do a Bob Mata dance. I'm too white for that. But I'm probably going to post the videos that I got, the FTR videos. I'm probably going to post those on a members only tomorrow. So keep an eye out if you're a member for that to drop, and then you can do whatever you want with it. Rewatch it. Create your own shorts, but that's coming down for members only, and that's because I got that from the PIO, Public Information Officer. Vincent, you're the man. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, chat. Thank you for, let's see, what did we get here? Boop, boop, boop. I got a super chat in there somewhere. Why is it not in the start? There we go. From Zach. Zach, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And everybody else for hanging in there for another 2 hours and 45 minutes of more Lori stuff. more Lori stuff. We're almost done. We're almost at the end, but we are at the end of tonight. So take care, everybody. Have a great night, and tell somebody you love them.
Good evening. Come and find you a seat. Grab yourself a cup of joe and put up your feet. Let's talk about the latest news and all about true crime. We can make a difference if we put in the time. Good evening. Come and find you a seat. Grab yourself a cup of joe and put up your feet. Let's talk about the latest news and all about true crime. We can make a difference if we put in the time. If we put in the time. Good evening. Come and find you a seat. Grab yourself a cup of joe and put up your feet. Let's talk.